Hi, Holly. How are you doing today?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing fairly well. Thank you for asking. So, first, I want to thank you for sending your supervision video with Sam. I really appreciate you doing that ahead of time so that we could have this meeting today. If you see me looking down, I just took a few notes. So, just don't worry about that. So, I might be looking down every now and then, but that's all that's going on. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, perfect. So, the first thing I want to ask is how did you feel in that supervision meeting with Sam?
Um, it was like one of my first times doing any like instruction or teaching. So at first I was really nervous that like it wouldn't go well or I would get stumbled and what I was saying would make sense. But I think that like it went a little better than I expected. I do think maybe it was a little more focus on teaching and a little less focus on like what she was experiencing. So I just have to make sure to like balance the two next time.
Yeah, I thought you did really well. And in looking over it, and she explained having some struggles with the client, and then you brought up, a skill that she could use with the change cycle theory. I thought that was great. I thought you did really well and doing a bit of an instruction with her, and it went really well from what I could see, and she really was able to grasp that skill. So that was great, and you did really well with that.
Thanks.
So, if you were, thinking back on it, how do you feel you did with the instruction? Do you feel like you did really well with it, that you feel comfortable enough with working with other supervisees, and teaching change skill or another skill?
Yeah, I think it went pretty well. The one thing I would say is that that is like a theory that I know very well and that I've dealt with a lot of um clients who I needed to know that for what I was helping them with. And so I think if maybe it was a skill that I wasn't as comfortable with or I didn't have as much experience with, then it would be a little more difficult. But I really feel like that's like a theory that I use in practice a lot. So it was easy to explain it to someone else, like, in terms that they would be able to understand it as well. So I think it depends on the skill that I was teaching, but for that one, it felt pretty comfortable.
Okay, awesome. That's great to know. I know with this client population, our supervisees that are doing that, direct service, that's a great skill for them to learn. So it may be something you have to do in the future. So I just wanted to check in with you and see if that's something you're
Okay.
comfortable with, having to teach if that's necessary again.
Yeah, of course. Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Um, so with that, is there anything that, you can recall that you wish you would have done just a little bit more with Sam? Anything that
Mm,
you don't think you did as well and you could work on in the future?
yeah, so one thing that I noticed when I was going back to look at it was that even though, like, I tried to, like, affirm what she was feeling, I think I could have done, like, more reflecting. Like, whenever she told me, that she was, like, experiencing something or, like, something that the client did, like, I feel like I was so focused on, like, making sure that she understood the skill that I kind of forgot, like, she's my supervisee and I need to make sure, like, she's doing okay. And so, I think I just need to reflect with the supervisee more, like, summarize what they told me to make sure I'm understanding them. And just, yeah, just like making sure that they know that I hear what they're saying rather than them just like listening to me teach them about something. So reflection is one thing I would have done more.
Okay. Yeah, I actually that's something, I took note of. I thought it was great whenever, she expressed some struggles and you went into saying, I hear you, and that can be really difficult, but then you kind of stopped there.
Yeah.
So you definitely could have, kind of dived into that a little bit more about those struggles. They were definitely related to the instruction you provided her. And I'm sure in previous supervision, sessions with her, she probably explained those struggles a little bit more. But I think in the beginning, just a bit more check in, a bit more reflection, trying to really grasp, where she is struggling and if there are any more struggles, she's dealing with that client or maybe even some other clients. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
I will say with the supervision, she was really focused on one specific client. Um, so I think you could have probably, worked with her on that a little bit more about, how you realize this client has been really difficult,
Yeah.
for her to handle and for her to deal with, and kind of address ways that she's handling, the stress that comes with
Hmm.
that, because she seemed really overwhelmed and stressed and just
Yeah, she
frustrated.
did. Hmm.
Yeah. So a bit more reflection, maybe just even on how she's handling that. Not so much in how she's interacting with the client, but how she herself is trying to deal with, the stress and
Yeah,
struggles in her own personal life. You could have
that's
thought
a good
maybe,
point.
yeah, a little bit more about maybe some self-care techniques to deal with that stress, because I'm sure it's coming from not just that specific client, but some other clients as well.
Yeah.
So, is that something you'd be comfortable with doing in the future, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think that looking back on it, I should have done more of that.
Okay, great. The other thing I wanted to point out is you did great with that change cycle theory. As I said before,
Mm.
um, with this specific client, and I'm sure with others, though, you could have also brought up our code of ethics, the NSAW code of ethics, and self
Mm.
determination. So, all clients have a right to self determination. I think that's something really important that we need to think about. We want to help so much in this profession,
Yeah,
and we really want to be able to get them moving forward, moving towards that change. But we have to be mindful that, our clients do have a right to self determination. So,
yeah,
that goes hand in hand with that change theory and the fact that, they're not ready to change. I think bringing that up to Sam could have been beneficial, though. Letting her know, like, I realize this is a struggle that you're trying to deal with and you really want her to make this change. But, remember, to our code of ethics, that clients do have that right to self determination. And that's something we have to consider.
yeah, that's a good point. That's very true.
Yeah. So maybe in the future you could even bring up, and with that change cycle theory, going through the code of ethics a little bit. Just reminding, Sam of that, but also, your other supervisees, just so that they're aware
Yeah.
of, this is something we have to be mindful of.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
is
that's a
that,
good point.
yeah, is that something you're comfortable doing?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And I think that now thinking back on it, like I think in previous sessions, like I have kind of maybe talked about that a little bit. Like you can't force someone to change. Like if they are not ready to make a change, then they just, they have a right to make their own decision. But I guess in that one, I was so focused on teaching her that change cycle that I kind of forgot to say, like, there are also other things that, this isn't the end all be all. Like they could never want to change. So, yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Well, and I will say, I really enjoyed watching that supervision video that you had with Sam. Teaching that skill is definitely something that you excel at. And, you're a great asset to this organization, and that you're able to teach that skill so quickly, sufficiently, to our supervisees. And, Sam really had a clear understanding of it by the end of the video, as far as I could tell. So
Oh,
really, you did really great with that. So these are just a few really minor things to consider in moving forward.
well, thanks so much. I appreciate that. I'm glad
Yeah,
it went well because I was not really sure how it would go.
it can be hard to be, a new supervisor. So I can completely understand that.
Yeah.
But you're doing great. I've really enjoyed watching, your supervision videos so far. It's really just, trying to, I'm trying to think of the word I want to use. Um, I guess focus more on those little details, like bringing up the self determination, making sure that you're utilizing reflection when listening to their struggles and everything that they're dealing with. And, being able to focus a little bit more on them as well as the client can be a little difficult to do. But
Yeah.
during that time, the focus is really on that supervisee and their struggles and where they're at. So just kind of keeping that in the back of your mind.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. Is there anything else you feel that I need to know? Any questions you have moving forward?
No, I don't think so. I think this was really helpful for me to process.
Okay, great. So we'll look at scheduling another supervision meeting a month from today. Is that okay
Okay.
with you?
Yeah, what day is that on?
Okay, so that's going to be, hold on just one moment. I had it written down and I just lost it. That'll be May 11th. It's going to be
Yeah.
a Tuesday. Does 9 a.m. work for you then?
That sounds good.
Okay, perfect. I'll see you then, Hallie.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.